Welcome to Creative Originals by Roxine. Sit back and enjoy my videos. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Wood Burning on Paper. We're going to be using a 140-pound watercolor paper. We're using the Super Pro 2 wood burning unit from Colwood. The letter G tip is the one that I'm going to be using. I like it because it is a pointed, straight edge tip. It works great on handling small lines and outlines, and I'm using a 4 setting on the unit. Now that will depend upon what type of paper you're using and what unit you're using. You may have to use a different setting. You'll have to test that out. I will be speeding up some of the video just because it's so long and I want to be able to get as much in it as I possibly can get in. So what you're going to do, you're going to go around your entire drawn or stenciled design and you're going to do all your outlines. Once you get all your outlines, here you can see I've used the edge of my tip and I've just shaded in the little teardrop shapes in the flower. You don't want to heat too hot or you'll go through the back of your paper, so be careful about that. Now you can see where we have many of our outlines done. I've done a little bit of shading and added some detail, and we're just going to finish the top part here with a few more lines and move on to our next step. That looks pretty clean and we're ready for our next step. Now I have changed over to a shading tip. I believe this is a J. I really like this as well. You do have to test other paper with this because this will burn hot. So be sure to test on a scrap piece of watercolor paper before you apply your tip down to your permanent work. Use small circular strokes as you do this process. Now you can see the shading is making it look so much nicer, and you just want to be sure that you take your time and that your shading is even with its intensity, its darkness and its lightness. So we're basically going to do the same thing from one side to the other. I've decided I want to switch my tip back to my G tip. I'm going to do some fine detail shading, and I like how small that other tip is. This particular tip is bent just a little bit too much, so I'm going to go back to my G tip. You can see with the small pointed tip I can get in here and really make some small dark lines. And if it's not quite hot enough, I can go right back over those lines as it heats up. As you can see, I can get a lot of detail with this G tip. So you can do quite a bit with one particular tip. You don't necessarily need to have many tips in order. Next, I'm going to add more detail to the tulips. A little more shading and maybe some stem-like lines. Again, I'm still using the G tip in order to achieve that. We're going to do the same from right to left. Here I'm adding more detail and lines and shading within the center flower. Again, I'm using the G tip. I may go back with another one to shade a little bit more later, but I'm darkening and just making those lines pop out just a little bit more with the tip of my wood burning tip. Next, I switched over to my C tip, which is a writing tip. It heats fairly fast also, so be careful. Be sure to test first. And I like the way I can control this just a little bit more into some smaller areas, and I can darken very quickly. Of course, you've got to watch that heat setting, and you don't want to burn through the back of your paper. It's beginning to take on a lot of different dimensions. Now I'm switching over to the S shading tip. It is more of a U V-shaped type of tip. You have a little bit better control with this tip with your heat, and I like the way I can shade a little more slowly and be a little bit more precise with my shading with this tip. Isn't this cool the way it shades? I'm going to go up and shade the center of the long leaves now with this same shading tip. And just small little strokes as you walk up that to get a nice shade. I think this is going to turn out really nice. Well, we're just about ready to begin painting our design now. Doesn't that look nice? We're going to be using Inktense watercolors by Darwent, and these are an amazing pencil to use. You can use them dry or wet, and when you use them wet, they really show quite a bit more vibrant color. Looks like our piece is coming along well. Lots of nice colors here. We still have a few more places to blend in some colors. Going to add just a little bit more to the background in a watercolor wash. You want to be real careful with this. You don't want to go over everything that you've already painted. This is looking very nice. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, Creative Originals by Roxine. Give me a thumbs up, like my channel, and please share. I'd like to see more people come in and join in and take interest in my videos.